Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, this is Jane Grabius. I'm the Director of Fellowship Programs at Eisenhower Fellowships, and welcome to our informational webinar on our Zhi Xing China Eisenhower Fellowship. As probably you know, we just opened the application on June 4th or 5th for this program, and the applications are due September 2nd, I believe. So this is really just a chance for us to present some information to talk about how this program is different from some of our other programs, provide you some basic information on how to apply, and as well give you a chance to ask any questions about this program. I'm joined here by two of our USA program officers, Natalie Barnt and Shay Kurtz, and they'll be coming in a little bit later to take over from me and walk you through different parts of the application process. So moving forward, let me just begin by talking a little bit about who or what is Eisenhower Fellowships and what we believe in and what is really the purpose of all of our programs. So Eisenhower Fellowships was started in 1953 by supporters of President Eisenhower in honor of his service as a global leader. And it's meant to identify aspiring and emerging leaders, empower them with this fellowship experience, with new connections, new knowledge, and then connect them to another. Really, at the end of the day, it's not just the fellowship experience, it's a lifelong engagement with this network of more than 1,500 active fellows all over the world, including China, but really we're well represented, I would say, on all continents today. And so this is really, it's something that I think people don't always understand. They think that this is sort of a program that's meant to fulfill very specific objectives at this point in your career, allow you to learn a little bit more about a topic, explore peer relationships in a different country, look at your sector from a different perspective, from a different global view. But it's more than that. It's really engagement with a group of people. There'll be, in this case, the people who travel with you to China, but as well with our nearly 300 USA fellows all over the country, as well as I was saying, the more than 1,300 fellows all over the world. So this is really the value of Eisenhower Fellowship, and the way in which we believe that you're able to leverage your talents and amplify your effect as a leader is by connecting to like-minded people who really, I think, have to share the same values. And those values, according to our mission statement, are peace, prosperity, and justice. And so this is one of those lenses through which we're going to look at applications to this program and applications to any fellowship really that we oversee is really at the end of the day, yes, this is a program that's meant to advance you. It's meant to advance a particular topic, your knowledge, your ability to be a leader in your field. But we also care that this is really a values-based leadership network, that we really care about the same things and are trying to make the world a better place. So at the end of the day, that big picture vision we are looking for in every member of our network. It is meant to be transformative. We've really, hard to believe, received so much positive feedback from this program as well as our regular USA program about really how taking time out from your daily life, disconnecting from family, from friends, from your work, and focusing on something else, focusing on yourself, focusing on how you react in a different sort of uncomfortable new situation, and how you sort of take advantage of this amazing opportunity. It really is something that is pretty special. Doesn't seem to be. I'm not sure if you're seeing the same slides as we are, so I'm just pausing for a moment. It looks like you're still stuck on the first slide. Well, I'll just keep talking. No slides. Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Let me see if I can fix this for a moment with the screen. Let me. Okay, now I think we're back on the same page. So fellowship history. So let me talk a little bit about this program, which is special for Eisenhower Fellowships. And what makes it special, it is a collaboration. It's actually a fellowship that's run by two organizations, one of which is Eisenhower Fellowships. We sort of handle the application, the recruitment. With our partner in China, we help select the fellows. And then when you go to China, you actually interact more with our partner on the ground. It's a branch of the Ministry of Education. It's called this China Education Association for International Exchange, or CEAIE. And so this program feels and looks a little bit different than our other programs. So first of all, for the USA, it's unique in that you travel as a group. There's 10 Zhi Xing fellows chosen each year Everybody is required to travel for the same period of time for 2018. It's basically the month of June. There is no flexibility on travel dates. Everyone must commit to the same arrival and departure, although you still do get your unique, customized 2.5 weeks fellowship program in the middle. But there is an opening seminar in Beijing, a closing seminar in Shanghai. That's all required. And so, as I said, this makes the program feel different because it's not a program that's wholly owned or operated by EF. So while it encompasses and falls within our, as I said, our idea of values-based leadership, leadership with purpose, you are becoming a part of our network of global Eisenhower Fellows. At the same time, this is partially a Chinese program, and it is owned in part by our Chinese partners who have provided the funding. And so unlike our other programs in which you do immerse yourself in another country or another culture, this one I think goes the second degree and is really focused for people who have a very specific and strong interest in China. There is a lot of sort of orientation and discussion about Chinese history, politics, and culture. There is as I said during the opening seminar in Beijing, there is an opportunity at a 2 or 3 day opportunity to interact with Chinese academics and practitioners and talk about different issues that are affecting contemporary China, from the financial system to sort of social changes with the one-child policy now being gone, to economics and transportation, the rapid urbanization. So there's really a focus from our partner on helping you learn about China. So it really has a different focus than other countries or other programs that we operate, which are less focused on that cultural piece. This really is, if you don't have a strong interest, I think, in that cultural side of China, this program may not be appropriate for you, because it's really 50% of it is really just about the experience of being somewhere unique, somewhere very different from the United States, in which people, I think, interact differently, in which they make relationships differently. And so I think it's a great value in that sense, because it really allows you to see the United States and see your sector from a very different point of view. So getting down to the specifics of the program, as I mentioned, it's 4 weeks. It's the month of June for the year 2018, and it's 10 mid-career U.S. leaders. The age range that we prefer for mid-career is 32 to 45 years old. Now, we do pick people sometimes who are a little bit younger, a little bit over, outside this age range, but generally the further outside the age range you fall, the less competitive your application is. But we're really looking for people who've had a track record, who have some accomplishments under their belt, but yet have still some headroom to go much further. As I mentioned, the fellowship does feature some intensive cultural immersion with the 2 to 3 day opening seminar in Beijing, with lectures from academics and practitioners in China, some site visits to some local organizations, a chance for tourism, and then you get the 2.5 weeks of individually tailored travel and meetings. This is the hallmark of the Eisenhower Fellowship. Each person is asked to come in looking to study and advance their leadership in a specific topic or area, whether it's urban transportation, agriculture, urban farming, it could be healthcare, education, but everyone's asked to come in with a focus, and then they will receive an itinerary that's customized. For 2.5 weeks, each fellow does receive a travel itinerary that's unique. Now, you may crisscross the country and be in the same city with other fellows at the same time, but you may not be in the same meetings, and you may have a different schedule. And you probably will visit about 4 to 6 Chinese cities. 1 month isn't a lot of time, so you sort of want to take advantage of focusing on 4 to 5 cities so that you're not kind of bouncing around too much. At the same time, you do want to get out of Beijing and Shanghai and get to see some of the other parts of the country, which are pretty unique. The focus is on mainland China. We don't offer programming right now in Hong Kong or in the western provinces like Tibet or Xinjiang. So that's just something to keep in mind, that those parts of China are not included in this program. And finally, this is really just a unique opportunity for you to be energized, like I said, to step away from your day-to-day commitments, from the daily grind of emails, disconnect, and re-examine what it is you want to do, how are you going to get to the next level, and pursue a set of specific goals and outcomes. The idea is really that this is a program that has impact, and my colleagues will talk a little bit more about what that impact will look like. And as I said, it's lifelong. It's lifelong membership in a global network. We have a network of 55 countries: Africa, Asia, South America, Europe, China. It's really quite astounding, the leadership that we have around the world. So not only are you able to, I think, advance yourself as a leader in your field, but you're having this really great opportunity to connect with leaders in your field all over the world and not just in China. So now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Natalie Barn, who'll talk a little bit more about the experience and what kind of profile of person we're looking for. Opening and its closing seminar in China. So opening in Beijing, closing in Shanghai. And our selection criteria for you to just understand the kind of people we're looking for, certainly the age range is relevant, as Jane said, not necessarily because of the numbers, but more because we want to make sure that we're sending people on this experience who are, oh, sorry. Does this sound a little bit better now? Thank you for the person who commented, yes. Apologies for that. So I was just talking about what we're looking for in applicants. So we do want to be sure that someone we send has a track record of accomplishment. We want to make sure that you're able to accomplish even more when you get back and that you have that growth potential in your career. We also ask you to propose a fellowship project. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's basically the focus of your fellowship. And that you're really committed to engaging actively in our network. So as Jane mentioned, this isn't a one-shot deal, it's a lifelong commitment. So the project concept is really a way to focus your fellowship. It can range in what it is, but we're looking for something concrete that when you finish your fellowship, you'll know, and we'll know whether you're able to accomplish that. And it will not necessarily happen the day you get home, but will probably take a long time because we're looking for projects that are really impactful. So there's some examples on this slide of projects that have worked well for other fellows in the past. So the first one listed here was a fellow that I worked with who was from Sri Lanka, who was a business person, but he saw a great need in his country for developing entrepreneurship and employment for youth. And so his goal when he came to the U.S. was to focus on that and to learn about incubators and academic programs that encourage entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurs are financed. So that was not connected to his day-to-day work, but was certainly something that he had the ability to implement when he got back and had actually already had a tentative plan when he came here. What he did was he came to the U.S. to test his assumptions and to learn more, and he ended up changing his plan fairly drastically in some areas as a result of what he learned from his fellowship, went back then and implemented it. And then there are some other examples here related to policies or systems that you could put in place based on the things that you learned in your fellowship. I think the bottom line is that we're looking for impact and we're looking for clarity about what you're trying to achieve. And there's a whole section in the application about your project. And then we will also ask you to put together a program design, which is basically a spreadsheet of ideas of the types of people you would want to see in organizations and why you would want to see them and what you would talk to them about. And so the more specific, the better. You know, if you know specific people or specific institutions, to include those. And also if there are types of meetings you'd like to have, but you don't know the specifics, even describing those more generally. Again, the more specific, the better is okay. And it's hard to find information sometimes on Chinese organizations with the language barrier. But another thing just to mention about this program is that you'll have kind of two partners. If you are brought into the program, you'll have two partners in your planning. One of them will be either my colleague Jaylin or me, and then we'll also have a partner, a program officer in China. And the three of us would work together to develop your program, but this will require a lot from you, a lot of your own initiative, a lot of your own research, a lot of your own connections and thinking. So
This isn't kind of you tell us what you want and we go make a magical list happen. We really do work together as a team. And it's important for you to understand that so that you know what you're signing up for. And I'm going to hand it now to my colleague Shaylin to take us through the rest of the slides.
Hi everyone. So to give a better idea about the diverse fellows in our program, I'm just going to talk briefly about 4 of our 2017 fellows who are currently traveling in China. To the top left, we have Kelly Davenport, who's from Philadelphia. She's the executive director of Build the Future, where she helps educate Philadelphia's underserved youth through the Friar Charter Schools, which serve over 1,500 students in Pennsylvania and Delaware. On her fellowship, Kelly is examining how parents, students, and government officials understand the concept of educational equity and how reforms at the national and local level have affected access to education for Chinese citizens. Through this project, when she returns home, Kelly will create a proposal for how to restructure the Philadelphia school district so that all students have access to educational excellence. Below her is Andrew Greenblatt. He's also from Philadelphia. Andrew is the CEO and president of the Philadelphia Film Society, where he aims to transform the city of Philadelphia through the power of story and film. On fellowship, Andrew is observing the growth of the Chinese film industry, and his goal is not only to create a pipeline for the presentation of a greater amount of Chinese films in Philadelphia, but also to connect with directors, producers, and production companies to lay the groundwork for potential collaborations in the near future. At the top right, we have Anupam Patek from San Francisco. Anupam is the technical lead of Verily at Google Life Sciences, and he develops pioneering technology for people with various forms of disabilities. Anupam is focusing on the Aging Well initiative to address the increasing elderly population. So he's studying some new technologies that provide assistance for those with age-related conditions while he's in China. And his goals when he returns home is to develop a technology prototype that can be deployed at scale to offer significant assistance for those suffering from dementia. Last in the right there, we have Robin Emmons from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Robin is the founder and executive director of So Much Good, which is a nonprofit organization committed to eliminating inequities in the food system that prevent marginalized populations from accessing healthy and fresh food. In China, she's exploring ag and land protection policies in order to inform her development of sustainable initiatives for non-traditional and marginalized farmers. When she returns home, her goal is to create policy proposals, case studies, and funding models that will serve as a foundation for generating greater food equity. Okay, and our last slide here is about kind of the process and important dates to keep in mind. So the application, as Jane mentioned, was open in early June, and the date for submission is September 1st. So that is the last date to submit, and the application will close after that date. From September 1st to November 1st, EF staff will hold phone interviews for selected candidates that we believe should go on to that round. And then December 5th and 6th, which is extremely important to hold these dates. If you're considered as a finalist, we will invite you to Philadelphia for your in-person interview, and if you cannot attend, then you're not going to be considered for the fellowship. The reason for this is that our Chinese partners will be here to do the interviews, and these are the dates they've already committed to, so we don't have flexibility and we're not able to move these, so please hold December 5th or 6th if you're deciding to apply. And then December 20th or thereabout is when we will let all candidates know of their selection status. So now turning it over to you. If you want to type in a question in the chat box, we'll be happy to take them one by one. And then you can see below also on the screen is the application link, which will take you to our webpage that has some more information about the program as well as the application.
Well, while we wait for a question, this is Jane. I was just going to ask you, Natalie, and you, Shay, if you could maybe give a little example. So we had given you the example of the 4 fellows that were selected for 2017, and I think in each case, Shay showed, how they were a leader, what kind of impact they were going to have using this sort of knowledge and skills that they had gotten through this Zhi Xing fellowship. And so before we answer some of the questions that I see, I was wondering if Shay and Natalie could give an example of some of the types of meetings that, for example, Anupam has been having in China related to elderly populations and healthcare for them, or maybe for Robin, looking at poor rural people who don't have access to food, and maybe just give an example of the types of meetings people are having in China. So this is Natalie. I'm working with Anupam, and so he's having a wide variety of meetings, ranging from things like visiting nursing homes and meeting with the staff there to understand how they're handling the great numbers of Chinese who are retiring and becoming elderly. And then he's also talking to people in the government on the same questions, and visiting some hospitals as well that specialize in diseases that are more prominent in the elderly. So he's really getting a wide range of how the elderly population is treated, and how they're housed and how they're supported in the country.
Hi, and this is Shay. I am working with Robin Emmons, who was studying the ag and food policies. Just like Anupam, she also has extremely kind of round schedule, which is pretty indicative of an Eisenhower fellowship, and she's visiting many large companies and corporate companies that are supplying this growing population in China with food and how they're handling this growing population, as well as the government agencies as well. And then she's also visiting some rural areas to get on the ground and visit farms, farmers, and people in rural areas who have a harder time getting access to food.
Well, thanks, both of you. So we had a question here from someone saying if you could talk a little bit about the selection committees. Who are the kinds of people that serve on those committees? So there's one committee. So in the initial phone interview phase, which some people will phone interview, some people we won't. It really just sort of depends on the application and how many kinds of questions we might have, asking you to clarify your proposal. That is done by EF staff. So myself, Shay, Natalie, some other folks here at Eisenhower Fellowships would help us sort of do a first round of vetting of the applications. Once we've established our list of finalists, that information is shared with our Chinese partner, CEAIE. And as we mentioned, we convene a committee on December 5th and 6th that meets and interviews all of the finalists. The committee is composed of EF President George Talama, EF Trustee Kimball Chen, who has longstanding business and personal ties in China, Aaron Hillman, our Vice President, myself, Jane Grabius, the Director of Programs. That's the EF side. And usually we often invite a past Zhi Xing fellow to join us to be able to answer questions from candidates about the program and how it works, and give that sort of first-person feedback. And then from the Chinese side, we have, this year, they are bringing 3 representatives. One is the head of international cooperation at CEAIE. One is her boss. She's sort of her title is Deputy Director General of the entire CEAIE. And then the manager of the Zhi Xing program, the sort of day-to-day director and supervisor of the program is coming. So 3 from the Beijing come specifically to interview, and then the 4 or 5 from EF and from the fellow. So there's usually like a 20 to 30-minute interview per candidate, and we fly you into Philadelphia. We provide round-trip airfare, a night in a hotel if you need, so that you're not out of pocket for any costs related to that travel. So another question here is, application mentions that the applicant could describe any involvement in cross-border collaborations or aspirations to be involved in such initiatives. Can you talk more about this? Well, you don't have to have currently any cross-border initiatives underway. I want to make clear that you don't have to already be sort of engaged globally. This could be your chance to sort of reach out and start to establish that. But we do believe that people involved in this kind of fellowship program, whether it's to China or to any of the other countries in our network, should have an aspiration to be working across borders. Now, borders could mean international country borders. It could mean sector borders, like you come from education, but you'd like to partner with healthcare because you see that as sort of being linked to educational attainment, or perhaps you're in technology, but you also want to work in entertainment because of the new digital tools and how they're being adopted by millennials, et cetera. So borders can mean that. But yes, we do believe additionally that the international border, being interested in aspiring to connect with the other people in our network, to amplify. If you think you have a good idea in your project, whatever it may be, if you're looking at Robin with agriculture, it's very natural for her to want to connect with the other farmers and agricultural or focused people in our network, whether they're in the United States or abroad. We have a pretty robust group of fellows who work in that field. So Robin now has access and I understand, has already reached out to some people seeking their advice on how does she move forward with her organization, make it sustainable, make it more impactful, reach beyond simply the Charlotte or North Carolina region. So that's what we mean by aspirations, is we're looking for people who have a broader vision, a vision that they want to make the world a better place, not just my local community or my school or my organization, which of course is the starting point, but we're looking for big thinkers, people who are thinking about big solutions that can help a lot of people, not just 5 or 10. Additionally, I think that Natalie, maybe she could talk a little bit. I know that a couple of our fellows from 2016, Cordell Carter and Nate Robinson, actually are going back to China. They actually, based on their fellowship, started a partnership with a university there around vocational training. Nate Robinson works for the University of Texas at El Paso, and Cordell Carter is now at the Aspen Institute, but he previously worked at a kind of what's called Tech Town in Chattanooga that provided opportunities for underserved youth to get involved in coding and technology and STEM careers. So they're now putting together a project with a university in China to create a curriculum and create more courses and exchanges around vocational and STEM-related education. So we understand that you may go in with a certain plan, which, you know, we'll sort of kind of hold you accountable for, but organically other ideas and initiatives might emerge through your relationships with the fellows in your cohort, through the meetings, or through your participation in other network activities. Perhaps, Natalie, you could talk a little bit about opportunities for these network activities, which I know we keep talking about, but maybe some examples. During the exchange program where we send a group of middle school kids from the U.S. to China to see how they do entrepreneurship and vice versa. And so they're actually doing the first step of that. This year, they're going to go over, Cordell and Nate are going to go to China and work with a group of middle school kids there, giving some training to some middle school kids in China. And so they see that as kind of potentially a first step to something larger. And that really happened organically out of, you know, time together and discussions and sharing what they learned during their meetings. And the combination of that and then the connections that they made while they were there enabled that idea to become a reality. And so we see things like that happening frequently. And it's often people who aren't necessarily in the same field. We have a this in France doing a project for example. So these things happen in kind of weird ways. And one of the benefits of the Xing program is you are in a cohort, you will be with the same group of people throughout your fellowship, and I think that allows for more of that sharing that grow into real concrete projects. Jay, do you want to talk a little bit about the network, and aside from the program and the cohort, what other network opportunities are there sort of beyond the fellowship period?
Sure. So I would say one of the biggest opportunities that happens twice a year is that we often ask our USA fellows to help us with our international folks who come in. So we have international fellows come in the spring and the fall each year, and we will kind of rely on you to help if the fellows in your field or traveling through the city you live in to, you know, get dinner with them, maybe help them with a meeting or two. Some fellows often host fellows as well while they're traveling. Something else we may lean on you to help in planning conferences, local conferences or international conferences, or being a speaker. For example, we have some fellows speaking at our conference in Malaga, Spain on the future of work this September. We may ask you also for recruitment to help us to identify other candidates that you believe would be great fellows. So the opportunities are kind of endless, and the fellowship certainly is a lifelong membership and kind of family that we rely on one another. And the fellowship is just kind of your starting point, I would say.
Advice for people to different set of spoken and unspoken rules. How would you frame this fellowship or the application differently, or the approach to it than perhaps a regular U.S. fellowship? Any thoughts?
One thought is that it is, I think, as Jane mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, it is a Chinese learning experience as well. So really communicate your interest in China and what you would like to learn, and be open to the experience. That would be one thing.
Yeah, I think really explaining why you're interested in China in particular is helpful for us. And then the project element, as clear as you can be about what you expect the impact of your project to be and how you plan to implement that, and how the experience in China will help you to achieve those goals is also really helpful.
Any other questions? I think we might. All right, well, we're not seeing any other questions, but, feel free to reach out in future if you have further questions about this program. Take a look at the webpage. We suggest you do some research on China, look at your sector, and think hard about the project and your focus and what you can realistically get through this experience and achieve as a result. And ask yourself, are you the kind of person who really is proactive in engaging with the network and engaging with people and really committed to using this experience to sort of launch you into a new group of people over a lifetime? It is pretty special. It is a pretty unique program that you get offered, this kind of pretty much a free month-long trip to another country, to immerse, to engage and connect with peers. You get a lot of support from the POs here in the United States and China. So, but it is something to think about. Anyway, that's that. The online application is there. You can submit at any time. We probably won't be looking at the applications until closer to August. So if you want to take time to think it through, there's no pressure. And we look forward to receiving all of your information. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.